I caught Frank's eyes across the table, his gaze sharp, steady, like he'd already mapped out how this night would unravel. The bourbon's heat lingered on my tongue, warm, biting, curling through me like a secret. The diner, some hole-in-the-wall joint in Chicago's underbelly, hushed around us, shadows stretching long across the scratched-up table. I thought I had this evening pegged. Just another night, him and me, playing at something normal. Then he leaned in, voice low, and mentioned a surprise waiting upstairs. Something I had to see. My pulse hitched. Was he serious? Or was I missing the play? I shifted in the booth, the leather creaking under me, and met his look. If you've been here before, you know the game. A quick subscribe, it keeps this going. New around here, you picked the right spot. Glad you're with me. Let's dive in. Frank's eyes held mine, cool and focused, like he could read every thought before it formed. The candle between us flickered, casting shadows that danced across the table as I sipped the last of my bourbon. The warmth spread, slow and heavy, settling deep. I shifted again, crossing my legs, trying to get a better read on him. I still can't believe you pulled this off, I whispered, twisting my earring between my fingers. My face felt hot, maybe the liquor, maybe the way Frank's eyes hadn't left mine all night. He leaned forward, elbow on the table, his stare quiet but sure. The real gift. Cora, he said, voice soft, a half-smile tugging his lips. Ain't in a box this year. I laughed under my breath, thinking he was just being sweet. Wrong. He took my hand. Just for a second, not holding, just touching, long enough to make his point, then let go. There's something I want you to see. Upstairs. I blinked at him. Words stuck. He wasn't nervous. Calm as death. Like he'd already made peace with how this would go. He stood, offered his hand, and waited. I stared at it, then reached out. We stepped into the dim hallway, leaving the diner's quiet behind. My thoughts spun, not on what I expected, but on what I'd never seen coming. The elevator dinged, doors sliding open. Frank stepped forward, still holding my hand, like we both knew where this was headed. The hallway above the diner was silent, the carpet swallowing our steps. I clutched my strappy heels in one hand, unsure what I was walking into. At the end of the hall, Frank unlocked a door and pushed it open, no words. The light inside was low, steady, the room still and heavy. A single chair sat by the window, and a man stood nearby, broad shoulders, hands loose in his pockets. He faced the glass, staring out at the city's jagged skyline. The quiet in the room felt brittle as I crossed the threshold. My husband, Nick, was there too, his hand resting light on my back for a moment. No words, just a steady touch to anchor me. I looked ahead, uncertain. He's here because I thought you might want to see him again, Nick said, brushing a strand of hair off my shoulder. I turned to the man by the window. He shifted, slow, and faced me. His face was calm, open, but he didn't speak, just looked. I froze, words gone. Nick didn't move either, the silence wrapping us tight, like something waiting to be named. I took a step forward, then another. The quiet didn't break, but it sharpened, like the room itself was holding its breath. Halfway across, I slowed. The man didn't come closer. He just waited, patient, steady, letting me set the pace. I stopped a few steps away, caught his eyes. Nobody spoke, but that moment felt deliberate, like we all knew what it meant, even if we didn't say it. He stepped forward, calm, his gaze locked on mine. No rush, no words, just that look, waiting to see what I'd do. Behind me. I felt Nick shift closer, not crowding, not claiming, just there, solid. I didn't turn, didn't need to. I could feel them both watching, not judging, not pushing, but for something I couldn't name. The man reached out, adjusted the pendant on my necklace. A small move, his fingertips barely grazing the chain before it fell back. But that touch stopped me cold. I crossed the room to the chair by the window, the fabric cool under my hands as I sat. I crossed my legs, steadied my breathing without meaning to. I didn't look at either of them right away. Just stared at the city lights, trying to guess how this moment would play out. Nick stood nearby, relaxed but alert. The other man stayed put. The distance between us felt intentional, not strained. But the silence had weight. I glanced at them, then down at my hands. I twisted my wedding ring, slow, then rested my hands on my lap. I didn't ask why he was here. Didn't ask what they expected. I just sat. The silence, the awareness, the shared understanding none of us could fully voice. And without a touch, that moment was whole, unrushed, undecided, just waiting. He stepped closer, steady, until we were only a few feet apart. He didn't speak, neither did I, but the silence between us was heavier than the room's, not uncomfortable, just thick with meaning I couldn't pin down. It settled in my chest. A subtle shift I hadn't expected. My breathing slowed, not from nerves, but because something was happening. And we all let it. Behind me. Nick moved closer, close enough for me to feel him. His hand brushed my shoulder, light, quick. He didn't explain, didn't define it. Whatever this is, he said softly. I trust him. I nodded once, steady, then leaned back in the chair, hands on my knees for balance. My dress clung to me as I settled. The room went quiet again, but not empty. A heavy kind of quiet. I looked up, unsure what they expected. They didn't move toward me, didn't speak, just stayed close, giving me space to feel whatever I needed. I glanced between them. Their expressions mirrored each other in a way I hadn't noticed before. Calm, steady, almost reverent. I turned back to the window, the city lights blurring at the edges. For a moment, we all held our breath. No rush, no reaching. But I felt them with me, right there. That awareness gripped me tighter than any touch could. I think I get it, I said softly, not sure who I was talking to. Nick sat beside me, his hand resting light on mine, not holding, just there, warm, still. I looked at the other man. He stood across from us, not imposing, not retreating, just waiting, no pressure. I leaned forward, elbows on my knees, fingers laced. My pulse didn't race. It was just there, each beat like it was telling me something vital. None of us named this. None of us needed to. The understanding was old, built in the quiet corners of our minds, now real. I looked at my hands, then reached out. First to him, the one who'd waited, watching without stepping in. My fingers brushed his sleeve. Then, without turning, I reached for Nick, the man who'd brought me here, not to hold tight, just to let him know I was still his. We didn't speak, but in that moment, I felt seen, not claimed, not traded, just seen. I stayed there, hands light on both, listening to the silence wrap us. No performance, no script, just the truth of it, built on trust. And as the night closed in, quiet, steady, real, I let it hold me. That moment, I'll never shake it. What part hit you hardest? Drop it in the comments. I'll read them. Like, subscribe, hit the bell. Don't miss what's next. Thanks for being here.